So,
Alien Encounters. Yes.
yeah, it's a bit of a cheesy title. You'll have to forgive me. But it actually comes from a participant in a former group that I ran, a coaching group. And he said something that really stuck with me. He said, I was out the other week and I met a woman, and so spontaneously, and she was so beautiful that it was like having an alien encounter. Right? And I'm like, okay, so what happened? What do you mean? How was that an alien encounter? And he said, well, it was so spooky. Like I saw something from beyond this world, and I was so bewitched and fascinated by what this force, this feeling was, that I just couldn't really speak. Couldn't speak to her. I couldn't really do anything. It was like my whole body and my brain and everything just seized up, as if I was having an alien encounter, like looking in the face of the blue light. And I listened to him describe it, and I thought, wow, that sounds exactly like what people in the arts have called aesthetic arrest, where you see something so beautiful, like a painting that's an absolute masterpiece, or a movie with a tremendous, powerful climax, and you just sit there utterly bewildered, unable to think, unable to speak, but you know that you've been handed an extraordinary grace, and it touches you in a really remarkable way. I can even feel my heart as I talk about this. And James Joyce wrote about this aesthetic arrest. And those moments are actually really quite incredible, because if you think about it, you're going through your life, as we said in the last video, thinking all the time, feeling these regurgitated, undigested feelings. Where am I? Not present. And then all of a sudden, boom, one beautiful thing can emit this energy, and you see it and you feel it, and all of a sudden there is a deep coherence. No mind, no emotion, nothing apart from awe and wonder, which is a deep, deep state of presence. So he's in the middle of a party, he turns around, there's a girl there, she comes out with a blue dress. I'm not saying she looks like an alien at all, but she comes out in whatever she's wearing, and he's bewildered, enraptured. And that in and of itself is a mystical moment in the middle of everyday life, right? You think people learn for years and years and years, and they feel that they're not even meditating yet. But you see one painting or one beautiful woman, and you're in as deep a state as anybody on a yoga mat or a meditation cushion. So what then happens? Well, first of all, it's a gift and it's so amazing. But the problematic part is, under conditions of aesthetic arrest, if we are arrested, we can't really do much about it. And this ended up being a painful experience for my friend, because he couldn't interact with this beauty. He just sat there bewildered. I think this is an experience we've all had as men. We want to be able to show up with at least some form of movement or some language, hopefully good language that represents us well in these moments. But it is actually hard when the beauty is so much and our faculties are arrested. So I want to say that this moment is amazing, and we ought to really look at it with a lot of joy and curiosity, and definitely not look at it as a moment that's a problem to fix. And they have, of course, you might have read about tourists in Florence in Italy. And Florence is nuts, actually. It's so saturated with beauty and art. It's saturated with some kitsch, I would say, as well. It's a little too much in places. But there's tourists that faint. After a day in Florence, they faint in the middle of the plaza and they have to be taken to hospital. And this happened 100 years ago. It was called Stendhal syndrome, where you've seen so much beauty that actually the system gets overwhelmed and you pass out and faint. It's taken the alien encounter. I had never seen a woman so beautiful she made me faint, but I've certainly become arrested. And so, as we're talking with the breath and the embodiment piece, is there a way under a moment of such captivation that we can also not just be frozen by it, but continue to breathe, continue to feel, and then find within ourselves something to say, to offer a hand in leadership, to offer some words of worship, actually, are the appropriate words. You are so captive. I feel so captivated just seeing you. My name is Jordan. So you're not hiding the fact of your absolute rapture, but you're not so enraptured that she looks at you like, okay, this guy obviously he can't handle this level of beauty. You want to be able to handle it to the point where you can move. I found this concept hugely interesting. And as Zan says in his book, with hot women, you can figure out what to do, right? Flashy objects, some of your lines and special icebreaker conversation starters that you were talking about in the last video. You can mash all that stuff together. But to actually lead in a moment with real beauty, something else.
That's so interesting because you would think you are going through ordinary life and you come across essentially beauty incarnate, right? And you think it's wow, it's supposed to be a positive thing, except when you're not in your body, then it just becomes this negative thing that puts you further in your head and to the point of passing out, right? It's the same as adoring a woman but having no spine or no foundation doesn't mean anything, right? If it doesn't come from a place of, like you always say, centeredness, right? And except that's trained, that's cultivated though, right? That you have to consciously create that and get to that point. Would you say, Jordan? Like on the
Cultivate
being
within
centered like
yourself a
that all the
center. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll come clean. Recently I was in Bucharest with you guys. I guess this is a month ago. And one of the girls came in, a girl that we know that's been in our workshops and so on. And she dressed up in a way that was so aesthetically immaculate. The shape and color and form in which she had made herself was so bewilderingly attractive. I caught her out the corner of my eye, and there was a part of me that's like, I need to run away. Like the young child that was completely overawed. I was like, I need to run away. And then of course I maturing and practicing and so on, I don't run away. I can notice that part. I can love the fact that part of me is like really overawed, and I can take a couple of breaths and I can look back and show her my face of adoration, actually. And I didn't need to say anything else to her. She could see on my face that there was her impact had been received, and there was a mutual respect from across the room. If I was younger, if I was single, I'd go and speak to her later on. And we spoke a couple of days later. But wow, that moment is, and I remember it now, and it brings me energy to think of her on that night a month ago. This is the gift of beauty that needs to be spoken back. It's such a shame that our own ways or our own ability to live with beauty ends up making beauty, particularly the beauty of women, into a negative that we then have to turn against, and in some cases resent and hate. And that's true in a number of men. Now, you said the word centeredness. And you said, I think, Anthony, in another video, you talked about groundedness. What do these things actually mean, to be centered? Well, there's one kind of in the embodiment world. To be centered means I have a line running through the center of my body, and that's been studied in the yogas and in the qigong, that there is this deep central channel that moves through me. And ideally, my awareness is on the central channel. But in more day-to-day life, we could say that everyone has a spine, both metaphorically, psychologically, and physically, and the spine is straight. I'm not leaning in, looking for approval or trying to get something or grasping. And I'm neither running away or hiding or acting aloof like I don't care. I can actually stay with a straight spine, like energetically and in my psyche, I'm centered, and I'm not wobbling from my center. And often, we'll talk about it soon, if a woman, if there is a situation of conflict or a situation where you're being persuaded or manipulated in some way, it can be very hard to energetically stay in that center. But I think as well, there is a whole way in which you see the universe. Like, who is at the center of your universe? If you really think about it. If you think about your psyche, if you think about the orientation of your whole life, what is at the center of that? Is it you? Or have you placed something else on the central crown, or the central throne, I should say? And a lot of people, for sure, they have a big stack of money at the center of their universe, or some image of a billionaire, or a yacht, or a desert island, or whatever they want to buy. That is in the center of the universe. And where are they in relation to that? Are they close to the thing? Or are they at the extreme periphery looking in? And a lot of men, particularly in our work, they say, yeah, I love women. I want to have a better relationship with women. And oftentimes they have women as the center of their universe. If I only had that beautiful woman and she told me, Jordan, I love you, you are everything to me, then I would feel that's my goal and that's where I'd be realized. Or if only I had that really beautiful woman so I could go to the next conference with her on my arm and everyone is thinking, wow, Jordan must be the best. You know, people think these things. I need to go back to the hometown where I was born, show all my high school buddies just what trophy I brought back from Brazil. And then all the years of bullying and all the years of feeling inferior will fade away. And so if that's the hole you're looking to fill in yourself, you might very well just put woman at the center of your universe. And so when a woman is a woman or any woman or all women or all, I don't know, blonde looking model types with a double D cleavage or this kind of ass, if you put those at the center of your universe, the whole world will feel it. And you'll wake up every day moving out of your own center to try and get this thing. So what does it mean then if I am always the center of my universe? You know, FOMO, people suffer with FOMO, fear of missing out. Well, if you are at the center of your own universe, this is kind of the narcissistic sounding uttering of someone who feels at the center of their own universe. People say, Jordan, are you going to the party tonight? And I'm like, feeling into it. No, I feel like I don't really want to go to the party tonight. Aren't you afraid you will miss out? Well, no, because if I'm not feeling it, the party is staying at home with me. Or the central point where all the good feelings are with me. So if I say, I'm not going to this party with 20 people tonight, I'm going to sit at home and watch the movie, I am watching the movie. And all those 20 people at the party are missing out on all the fun that I'm having as I'm sat alone watching this movie. I'm the center of the universe where all the presence is, where all the joy is, where all the ecstasy is, where all the adoration is, where all the, you know, the alien encounters of beauty are happening. It's all happening within me. What happens in the party is irrespective. So I don't have FOMO. I haven't had it for years and years because my experience is always where I am. How could I have fear of missing out? I'm always missing out on something. Why would I fear that? But I have what I have, and that's everything. So all of a sudden, when I see a beautiful woman, I'm like, wow, look at this beautiful woman that just came into the periphery of my experience. And what is the experience of seeing a beautiful woman? Is it how beautiful she is? Or are they the feelings of rapture and enjoyment that I feel bubble up from within myself? What is beautiful about the beautiful encounter? Is it the woman herself or the art piece? Or is it the feelings I get as I see her? And to the extent that I think actually the really beautiful thing here is that, like, I'm a 41-year-old man, I've been all around the world, I have a relationship, I've done this, that, and the other. I could be jaded right now, and your beauty is making me feel shy like a 6-year-old boy. What a beautiful feeling. That's the center of the universe. So any woman that comes into my life is just on the periphery. She's a trigger for these feelings. She's also a human being to relate to. But I am the center. And to the extent that she's the center of her own universe as well, damn, we're two powerful people that can really meet each other in extraordinary ways. But I hold to my own center.